How's it going? This is Hoiman and today we're taking a look at the S.H.Figuart Omegamon. So for the packaging, because this is a web exclusive figure, you don't get a window to see the figure inside, but you still get a picture of the figure which looks really nice. And then you have the name of the character which is nicely embossed in gold lettering. And of course this is the premium color edition as well. And I do like the fact that both sides of the box have different colors to represent the different arms. So on this side you have Metal Garumon's colors and then a picture of Omegamon. Pretty much a similar thing on the other side but with War Greymon colors. And then the top, nice picture of the figure. Then the bottom. And in the back, you have various pictures of the figure, and then you also have some legal stuff at the bottom. To open the box, just lift open the side flap. And then you lift open the front cover. Right, so there's the figure all together with his accessories. So first you do get some instructions showing what the figure comes with and how to operate the accessories. Okay, so here's the actual figure, and as expected from Figuarts, the sculpt on this figure looks really nice. Definitely captures the likeness of Omegamon really well. Overall, just a really impressive sculpt and really nice paintwork. So looking closer at the face, I feel that they've definitely captured the likeness of Omegamon really well. And this is especially based on his anime design, so the eyes are definitely different. And then the horns and the sculpt work are slightly different as well. And like I already said, the eyes are really nicely painted in there. They have a nice glossy finish. And then the overall figure, because this is a premium color edition, all the colors are nice and metallic, so it's definitely a really nice effective look overall. So the helmet itself has a nice pearl metallic finish, and then the horns are nicely metallic gold, and then you even have the blue patterns on the sides of his head as well. And then down to the torso, all these blue stripes are really nicely painted on. They look really nice and clean. And then you have the chest here with the gem, which is actually a translucent piece. Looks really nice. And then the nice metallic pearl white continues onto the back as well. And then you have the War Greymon shield. Really nicely sculpted. The pattern in there is actually embossed. Looks really nice. And then you move down to the actual War Greymon head for his hand. Again, just a really nice sculpt work. And the paints are really nice and clean. And then the eyes in there have a nice glossy finish. So it looks really nice and effective. Whereas the jaw here is actually a matte finish, so it's a really nice contrast to the Garurumon head. Again, really well sculpted, glossy eyes again, nice use of the metallic red, and then the jaw is a matte finish as well. And then you can see the panel linings are all sculpted in there. And then the shoulder piece looks really nice and effective as well. So moving to the legs, the horns here are really well sculpted and detailed. And then all the way down to the legs. So for the knees here, you can even see the kind of inner workings of the leg. Looks more organic. And that's the same for the hips and the waist as well. And the arms. So have that nice organic look underneath. And the legs themselves look really nice and well sculpted, very nice and sharp. And then the feet themselves are nicely sculpted as well. And then the toes themselves have a nice gold finish. So the sculpt on this figure is definitely really impressive and looks really accurate to Omegamon. So for articulation, the neck is on a double ball joint, so he can look down about that much, and then he can look up that much, which is quite a bit, and then he can tilt his head side to side as well as twist his head, but the collar does restrict the movement a little bit. For the shoulder, it's on a ball joint, so you can move his arm about however you like, and then the ball joint's connected to a butterfly joint as well, so you can bring his arm forward like so. And then of course you can bring his arm forward as well as back, and then it's also connected onto a hinge, so you can bring his arm out to the side, but the shield does restrict it a little bit. For the elbow, it's on a ball joint here, so you can really rotate his arm out however you want, and then the forearm is actually on a hinge, so you can bring his arm forward like so you can get quite a nice bend. And then of course you can rotate the hand as well, and then the jaw and the head are on hinges, so you can open his mouth up like so. And then pretty similar thing on the other arm, so you have the ball joint, you have the butterfly joint, you can bring his arm out to the side. But I will say it's not as restricted because the shoulder piece here is on a hinge, so you can move that out of the way and get a bit more range. And of course you can bring his arm forward to the back, and then same thing, so you can move his arm out like so, get a nice bend, and then the jaw itself is on a hinge as well. For the torso, so the top part here is actually just on a hinge, so you can get a bit of a lean forward slightly, which is cool. And then this part is on the ball joint, so you can move that out of the way so it doesn't get in the way of articulation. And then the waist here is actually on a ball joint, so you can move his torso about like so and also twist. So overall he can bend forward about that much, bend back that much, and then lean side to side as well as twist. And then for the hips, they're on hinges, so you can kick about that far to the side, but of course this part of the thigh does restrict it a bit. And then he can kick forward about that much, kick back pretty much all the way, and then he does have the thigh swivel as well. And then he's got single jointed knees, get quite a lot of range. And then for the ankle, it's on a ball joint, so you can lean forward about that much, and the ball joint is also connected onto a hinge, so you can kind of bring his forward just a little bit more like so, and then you can bend them back as well, lean side to side as well as twist. And then each toe is on a hinge, so it can go all the way down like so, but they can't really go forward a whole lot. So for such a pretty complex design and a lot of thin areas of Omegamon, Figuarts did a pretty good job retaining all the articulation you'd expect. And because of the really thin limbs and stuff, they did a good job of keeping the joints nice and sleek. So overall, you get a lot of nice range of motion with this figure. But that's the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. So first you do get the Transcendent Sword. It looks really nice. Has a nice silver and kind of chrome finish for the blade, whereas the letters here have a nice gold finish. But I will say it is actually just very slightly embossed, so it's not like the DRs where they actually pop out from the blade. And then you get the Gururu cannon, which is nicely sculpted, but it's just painted a nice matte black. But there is a seam line that kind of runs through the body, but it's not super noticeable. And then you get this attachment to attach the cape to Omegamon. And then we have the actual cape, which is quite a big selling point for this figure, I feel. So rather than the plastic or cloth cape that they used in the past, they decided to go for kind of a semi-cloth cape. And if you've been following me on this channel, I'm sure you're aware that I'm not a huge fan of cloth on figures, but for this cape in particular, I feel that it's quite a big improvement overall. So it definitely feels, it's not quite cloth, so the red on the inside feels more like felt, whereas the outside kind of feels like leather. It's not quite leather, but it's like a very premium sort of feel, so it definitely feels very high quality. And of course, you do have the wire that runs through the entire cape, so you can really just bend it to however you want to get all sorts of different poses. And I feel overall, this is probably one of the best capes I've seen on figures in general. So I think overall, it's not a perfect cape, but I think overall they're going in the right direction. So to attach the cape, you just gently lift open the back panel of his torso here. Like so. So that just pops off. And then what you do is line up the holes on the cape with the pegs on the back, like so. And then you take this connector and then you just connect it all together like so. And then you push it all the way down until it's nice and snug, like so. And then just bend the cape down for now. And then you just plug it back into Omegamon's back. So it just connects snugly back on like so. And that's how you attach the cape. And like I already said, it's quite a big improvement on a lot of capes I've seen on figures. So you can get a lot of range. So overall, you can get a lot of poses you can do with this cape. And then you also get a display base. So you have the hinged arm, so you can get a lot of range and dynamic poses. And of course, this part just plugs into the back of Omegamon. So my final thoughts are, I used to own the original D-Art of Omegamon, and overall I think this is quite a big improvement. So there have been quite a lot of changes since the D-Arts figure. So first thing, I do believe that this is a whole brand new sculpt from the D-Arts figure. The overall legs and all the limbs and stuff are a lot thinner than the D-Arts figure, and I think overall the proportions just kind of look more accurate to how Omegamon looks in the anime and whatnot. And then in terms of articulation, so this is quite a strange way of saying it. So he's actually lost some articulation from the D-Arts figure, but I actually think that's probably a good thing. So the D-Arts figure, for the inner arm here, it used to be a hinge, but now it's changed to a ball joint. So this doesn't give it as much range, but at the same time, he still gets a lot of range anyway. So that's a small change there. For the Guru arm, these teeth parts used to have hinges on the D-Art, but now they're just one solid piece. And the mouth doesn't open nearly as wide, but you can still fit the Guru cannon in just fine. For the top of the torso, it used to be a ball joint, same as the bottom ball joint. So although he can't really bend or anything side to side at the top, he still gets quite a bit of range, but overall I'd say he's a bit less range from the D-Arts in terms of the torso. This whole crotch piece used to be on the ball joint, but now it's just one solid piece, which I think actually works better, because I always thought it felt a bit fiddly on the D-Arts. For the knees, in the original D-Arts, there used to be a hinge at the top of his thigh here, but now it's just one hinge. But you can still get a lot of range, so I don't feel that's really much difference. And I think the biggest change is on the D-Arts figure, there used to be a ball joint for the front of the foot and the back of the foot. And this made the foot really flexible and made it a bit difficult to stand as well. So overall, turning this whole foot into a solid piece makes the figure stand a lot better. So it's overall an improvement, I feel. And then the toes used to be on ball joints for each toe, but now they're just hinges. So they're definitely more restricted, but because they're kind of more solid, they balance the figure a lot better. So again, I feel that is a big improvement over the D-Arts figure. And I guess the biggest change is, like I already said, is the cape. So on the D-Arts figure, it used to be just 3 parts of plastic, and that made it really awkward to pose. And then you also get an interchangeable cape where it flows in the wind, but that was really heavy and really weighed down the figure. And I never owned the 2016 Figuarts revision of Omegamon, which had the cloth cape, but I've heard pretty negative things about it, such as the red bleeding through the white a lot, and the stand that came with it made it a nightmare to pose. So for this premium color version, they included this kind of leathery cape with the wire, and overall I feel it's pretty much the best option that they could have went for in terms of improving the cape. And overall, like I said, I think this is one of the best capes I've seen on a figure, and overall just works really well. And yeah, overall I just hope that with future figures that have capes in the future, I hope Figuarts continues to use this technique for those figures. So overall, like I said, he's lost a few articulation points over the older figures, but overall he still retains most of the range of articulation, and there's overall a large improvement over the older figures. So if you are a fan of this character or the series, then I can recommend this figure. And if you do already own the D-Arts figure, that can only be decided by up to you. If you feel that this premium color edition is quite a big upgrade that you're looking to get, then I'm sure you won't be disappointed. But at the same time, if you already own a D-Arts figure, this figure is quite expensive. So if you're happy with the D-Arts, then by all means, just stay with it. But if you're someone who doesn't have Omegamon at all, then I highly recommend going with this version of the figure. But despite that, I do still have some gripes with the figure. So first off, there seems to be some really odd kind of smudges on his horn here. I'm not too sure how that happened. Probably some kind of error with the paint. And I guess another gripe is not really the figure itself, but because he has these 3 horns and they're relatively fragile as well, it does make posing his head quite scary, because I always feel I might accidentally break one of the horns. So you just have to be careful there. But I think my biggest gripe with the figure is probably all the screws on his back. So he has 2 screws on his hips here, and then he has a screw on his shoulder here, which I'm not too sure why he has those. I feel that they could have easily been covered up, especially with Figuarts, but it just kind of overall cheapens the figure, I feel. And that's the same for the unders of his feet as well, but you're not really going to see those as much. But those are just some minor gripes, and overall this is a really great and solid looking figure. But that's my review. Thank you for watching, and enjoy some pictures.